Hello and welcome to Climate Curious, live from the Conduit. For London Climate Action Week, we wanted to celebrate how the climate movement is already making the impossible not just possible, but unstoppable.
So joining us to share her stories of climate progress is one of our besties who has oddly never joined us on the podcast before, so this is very long overdue. We're super excited to be welcoming Jennifer Kitt, the founding president of Climate Lead. I know. Wait, you can cheer in a minute. There's only a reason to cheer. If new money is coming into climate, Jennifer knows about it. Her team's whole job is bringing brand new donors into this field and have done that to the tune of more than $6 billion with a B dollars so far to accelerate climate solutions. Right. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, let me start. What does it mean to be Jennifer Kitt? No. Who is Jennifer Kitt? I just said that you and your team have catalyzed over $6 billion for climate action in just 6 years, advising 100 philanthropic families to come into climate. What do you do day to day, really?
Yeah, that's such a good question. So every single day starts with caffeine and a little bit of meditation because this work is hard and you got to stay grounded. And then it usually moves on to talking to amazing nonprofits who are doing all kinds of work all over the world, but don't have enough resource to do it with. Thank you for the water. And then it moves on to talking to some of the new families or foundations that are climate curious as well, or trying to encourage them to be climate curious. But at Climate Lead, we are completely freed to think of one thing only, and that is, how do we help everybody we meet figure out how to bring their talents, their resources, everything they got to this issue. So thank you for doing what you guys do to get the message out too.
You're welcome. You are so welcome. It's my pleasure. I want to ask you, now you say billionaires, and I don't know, man. I don't know about those guys. Well, no, billions is what you said. When you hear billionaires, right, I feel like, someone correct me if I'm wrong here, I feel like public sentiment has changed over the last decade. Because it used to be fine to like billionaires, didn't it? Like, I feel like that was okay. Like going to, somebody's like, no, Ben. Okay. But now apparently I'm not allowed to like Jay-Z, so I don't know what's going on. He's just got there. And I think people have concerns with the fact that people who have billions of dollars, of pounds, cannot make that amount of money ethically. And so there has to be some kind of like bending of rules, abuse of people, those chill things. And also, I think there's a big question around when people have that amount of money, is it fair that they get to determine where the money is spent or what issues we care about? What do you say to those questions, Jennifer?
Well, I still think you can like Jay-Z.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I know you were worried about that. Great wealth often comes with great power. So I understand why many of us would be worried about that. And what I think about every day is, how can we help people who actually truly care, who are authentically motivated to do good with what they've been lucky enough to either earn or be given, to enter a space that they don't know in a humble, truly generous way. So what does that look like at our organization? It means that we talk to them about what matters to the climate and the people most impacted before we ever ask them what they care about. We don't start with what they're drawn to until we've already shown them what's important for solving this problem. And then we make sure that they know that giving long-term, multi-year, and a really generous and humble way is the way that you make the kinds of changes that we most need. And the kinds of families who are willing to enter with that version of groundedness and thoughtfulness and make a difference for their children or their children's children or the places they hold dear or the causes that they care about, health causes and animal causes and all kinds of things are the way that they enter. if we help them come in that kind of way, then we can make the money work for good. And if they don't enter in that kind of way, then we are free to let them go. So, what do you think of that, Ben?
This is why you get the big bucks. This is why she makes all the money. I throw away the receipt. I'm buying it. Do you know what I mean? I feel like, but that's a convincing argument, isn't it? I feel like that's good. And the money's there anyway, isn't it? Like, they've got the money one way or another. So the question is, what do we do with it, I guess?
Yeah. Okay, I want to stop talking about billionaires for a second. I want to talk about, I want to ask about you, Jennifer. You've not always worked in climate, because we often meet people in this work who are like, I've been doing this since I was 7. Which is cool, by the way. I have no shade. I just have not been doing this since I was 7. What was your light bulb moment coming in and doing this work and working on climate and nature and everything you do?
So 7 years ago, I was working in academia, actually at Stanford University, working in medicine, helping donors to give there. And I had started to get antsy, to want to do something new. And whenever that happens for me, I start to really think about, okay, like this is probably something in me and not something in the organization I'm working with. So I start to be on alert for what is the thing that I should do next that matters in the world. And a few weeks, maybe even a few months after I started thinking this way, there was an article in the New York Times that said, the title of which was something like, "Solving Climate Change is Impossible, Let's Do It." And I thought, okay, I just started to read it. I'm having my coffee. I didn't meditate then. And I ended up in tears at the table. And I think it was because I'm actually, it was so meaningful because it quoted things from like Martin Luther King Jr. and the beloved community that we create, and that we were built to do hard things, and we had done hard things. And it pulled out of me a sense of not hopelessness, but actually empowerment, and that the things that I knew how to do in the world were something that I could offer. And so I think maybe that's the thread for me. It's like, I know how to do this kind of work, and I want to make sure that I'm doing my part. So that's how I got into it.
I love so much that even 7 years later, that moment of you sitting there reading that article is so vivid for you. It's so interesting, though, that it said, like, this is impossible, let's do it anyway, given that we're here to talk about climate impossible. So let's talk about that. Let's get into some of what you have actually seen become possible that was seemingly just a pipe dream. What does that number of 6 billion actually represent when it comes to climate solutions?
Yeah, I mean, the number is just a surrogate for impact. And of course, if people give, they need to take risk with the money. Not everything's going to work. That's how it works. But the kinds of progress that I have seen that's a surrogate for is like the fact that, I think some of you in this room are actually quite expert in climate. So you'll know that on all the charts, the things that are actually having momentum in climate now are things like renewable energy, lowering cost almost everywhere in the world. It just makes sense. We breathe better air. Philanthropy helped get that going and make a market, and also helped to stop some of the bad stuff. Amazing stories of philanthropy making a difference there. Newer things that are happening now, I mean, we've made so much progress on stopping deforestation. It's important to remember that nature is sort of miraculously pulling carbon pollution out of the atmosphere using it's like soils and peatlands and especially tropical forests and the ocean. And if you stop any of that, then it will immediately become a bit of a carbon bomb and start to pollute again, right? All at once. So progress on protecting these special places is incredibly important. And I have seen amazing progress in simple things like making sure that there's labeling on supply chains so that we know that the beef we're importing or the palm oil and ingredients or the furniture is not contributing to clear cutting, or that indigenous communities are actually having their lands protected so that they can be enforcers of these special places too. So much progress is being made, and those resources are paying for all those little strategies that all together become a flywheel effect of change. And it's really, it's part of the leverage that philanthropy can have when it plays like that. Yeah.
Sorry.
All back.
Thank you. So at what point do you start to believe that these things are actually possible? Because you're talking about like really big sums of money that people are investing, donating, I don't know what the correct way of saying it, but giving to solve problems. And generally, it sounds like we're talking about problems that are like beyond solvability for the average person in day-to-day life. Where does your organization hit the point where you're like, oh, we can actually do this? Or do you ever hit that point, or does it always just feel like it's never going to happen?
I mean, I see it through the people who are doing the work, right? I will see the possibility when you invite many of the nonprofits who are working on ending the polluting tailpipe and moving to clean vehicles all around the world, or stopping deforestation in Indonesia or the Congo Basin or Brazil. When those organizations start to collaborate and brainstorm with each other, and you ask them questions like, well, what would it take to get all the way to an outcome? Or what would you need to get all the way there instead of just incremental change? That's when I start to have actual real hope. And I do think donors at all levels can be part of this. I mean, on some of the deforestation examples, some of what's happening is simple technical assistance to protect land rights for Native peoples so that they can protect it from threats. And these things are not expensive, especially in many of the developing world where your money can go extremely far, and there's huge opportunity and also a real scarcity of resource. So people at all levels can be part of these sorts of campaigns.
You just said something that I think is something I've heard you say before, and I think it is so, it's like the thing. Like if I had to put my finger on the thing that is transformative, is working with people to ask that question that is not bound by what can you do in 3 years, what can you do with $1 million, but actually that like unbounded question. What has it been like to ask groups what has it been like to ask group that question, and what impact have you seen on just their thinking?
So I didn't start this work when I was 7, as you just told everyone. I've only been in it 7 years. And when I first entered, what I noticed was that because so little philanthropy and investing and impact investing was going into climate solutions, the amazing people who were creating those ideas, the solutions, were thinking in increments. What could we do with 500,000? What can we do with 100,000? What can we do with 1 million? Because that's how they were getting resourced. It was something less than 1% of all giving then. So what I have noticed is if you meet with them and they're collaborating with each other and you ask questions that are in full increments, if there's a reason for them to dream that big, they will begin to do it, right? If the possibility of enough resource for them to scale to meet the needs, to get to the outcomes we need is possible, they will begin to imagine it. And if you just help them by whiteboarding it, they will get there. And if we limit ourselves to what we think is possible to bring resources to, we will never find the abilities that we have to move quickly. So just the power of a question actually has been pretty transformative, I think. And of course, think about it from the donor perspective. If I have great wealth and I can give a great deal of money, one of the hardest barriers for me is actually knowing what to give it to that could be useful. Like I feel stuck. I may have my grown daughter telling me she's not going to have children. I've heard this story multiple times because of climate, and I want to do something, and I can do something large. But until those people dream to a real outcome, maybe I can only give in small numbers. So it's a reciprocal relationship where the doers imagine what's possible, write it down in a business plan, and the donors can now be part of what they're dreaming.
Okay, I'm gonna say something shameless, but it's going somewhere. Okay. So I interviewed you for my book. That's the shameless bit, and you said something there which is kind of aligned to this, and I want to highlight it because I think that it would is really important for people to hear. But this idea of, you said, I asked like about fundraising, because obviously you have this wealth of experience of fundraising and working with families and philanthropy. And you said this great thing of like, instead of seeing you on one side of the table and the kind of donor or philanthropist or foundation on the other, you need to find a way to be on the same side of the table looking at the problem. And I just wondered if you might share a bit more about that, and also like how.
Can you just imagine as a donor what a privilege it is to be able to have impact through the ideas of others who know how to solve things? When movement leaders, engage their community because they want to breathe clean air and they ask for the kinds of changes that they deserve of their government, and that makes change. But in order for them to do that, they needed resources. And now the donor gets to be part of it. I mean, that's a huge privilege. So starting in a stance of partnership when you are thinking about bringing a donor on, it just seems to me the way that we should invite people to give. And that's that image of being on the same side of the table. We're not pitching. We are inviting you to be part of something that matters. It's an invitation.
Yeah. Does it actually work? No. Does it actually? Well, obviously it works because you've literally got 6 billion. But does that? Because in my mind, I'm putting myself into my third sector position, and thinking if I was to go into a meeting to pitch for funding, I'd be so anxious to say to someone, let me give you an opportunity to make some impact here. I'm like, oh, so this is what we do, and this is the business plan, and but it feels like it's almost like a very bold position to take. Do you not feel weird about it, or is it just chill for you?
Well, I guess it's chill. I think it's chill. Yeah. But my favorite, Ben dear, is doing it on behalf of other people, right? Like, I'm never asking for myself, right? We don't fundraise for ourselves, right? We are this incredible. We were dreamt up by the experienced climate funders who were super lonely because there was so little money coming into this space, and we are free to help bring in new donors, which is really amazing. And so it's pretty chill to be able to ask this on behalf of other people. But I do think embodying a place of everybody in the whole wide world should be doing their part for this cause. You guys are doing what, you are preparing people who go out and try and tell their story with your book and with your coaching. Both of you are telling stories on Climate Curious. Like, every one of us needs to figure out, and this is a room where everybody is already probably doing that. It's London Climate Week, but every one of us needs to bring the skills and talents and resources and money that we have, because it's that big, and unless we come together, we can't build it. So yeah, I'm chill.
I do. What I'm taking away from that, actually, for you, Ben, is that sorry, this is my lesson that I'm learning for Ben. And for all of you, and myself, is that you said it's not easier isn't the word, but it doesn't feel the way that Ben described for you, because you're asking on behalf of others. And I want you to think that when you're doing it, you're also asking on behalf of others, because it's not like the money is coming into your account to go on holiday. Yeah. You're doing it for the boys and men that you work with. Yeah, I mean... Luckily, you did not have the mic. Yeah, he didn't have the mic when he said that. Okay, I want to ask you, you've been part of, and you've seen, and you've supported these climate impossible wins. What is on the horizon? Like, what are their great what areas are there for... No, let me try that again. See, I was on a roll, and then I just... So you've been doing this work around the climate impossible wins, and I'm just curious to know, where in climate are the greatest areas for this kind of impossible thinking?
I'm pretty excited about what we can do next. Already, climate philanthropy is growing, which is a really lovely thing to be able to say. There is a report coming out this week. I will not scoop them. But it will have grown in 2024 and 2025 pretty substantially, and I can see some of it just because we know some of the funders who are coming in. And that means that the community is actually having more confidence that they can dream the great new solutions. So there are quite a few things. Many of them are super under-resourced right now. So buildings, the built environment, right? There's so much building that's going to be happening in the developing world. Yeah. They need to have their building boom. We want them to have their building boom, so they have great houses and offices and schools and all the good things that are necessary. But over the next years, a city the size of Paris will be built weekly for 45 years. This is like the stat to try and get us to think about this. It's like the places that don't have these, not London, they can't do it in London. So there are huge opportunities to actually build it right the first time, right? Like make sure the way you're heating and cooling is actually in line with the boundaries that our planet needs us to live within, and using the technology we already have, leapfrog over some of the things that we learned in the developing world, the developed world faster. We can give technical assistance to governments to know what kind of solutions to have there. We can make sure that we're helping make markets for the materials that those buildings are made out of, right? Clean and green concrete and steel. All kinds of things philanthropy can help with to make those things happen. And here in the developed world, we're going to need to retrofit all of these spaces. And the thing is, we have actually all the technology. Like, that's winnable now, but we have a scarcity of resource. That's super, super exciting. And there are dozens and dozens of examples like that. In just Climate Leads database, we have more than 400 diligenced climate solutions that could accept resources today, and the 80 most urgent could take $5 billion tomorrow. So every dollar matters, and every solution matters because of the race that we have against time. So that's some of what I see coming.
I think that is very exciting, particularly because as I've been doing this work more with you, I've understood this idea of something being ready. Because I think maybe I didn't understand that so much. But this idea that you can accept it tomorrow, and actually it's not just like, oh, well, if you got it tomorrow, then it would take another 18 months to plan it.
Yeah. How often do you listen to people speak about stuff and think that things are actually possible? Is that like a everyday experience for you? I feel that this is like quite trippy for me. I know I'm asking, but they're not answering, so I'm just going to move on. Don't worry about it. No, but seriously, does it feel like I feel quite inspired hearing this, because it sounds like the solutions are here, they're ready, we just need the cash, and somebody knows how to get it, which is positive. So that feels like we're moving in the right direction. I guess the question I want to ask you is, which also feels a little bit redundant now, because I sat here and watched you almost cry over like the reason that you started doing this work. But what inspires you to keep going? Like when you wake up in the morning, you have your caffeine, you do your meditation, what is it that like actually makes you think, I'm not going to quit this, like I'm going to keep doing it?
Well, two things probably. One, the momentum. Like I actually get to see when things work. You know, when philanthropy has been able to do like just this little thing, you know, it's not the prime mover. Governments and businesses are the prime movers for the changes we need. But when philanthropy is well played, it can make something go faster, and we need that. So I think those wins, I spend a lot of time thinking about those wins and trying to build on them. And then my own children, right? Like, I want them to have a world that knows how to live within its resources. I want them to be able to know that I tried everything I could. Yeah, what inspires you?
Maryam inspires me to. No, but seriously though, I do think for me actually, that's not a ridiculous answer. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be talking about any of this stuff. I literally didn't care. I'm not supposed to say that in Climate Week, but I didn't care because the adverts were boring. Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. It wasn't like they were pulling on heartstrings, but they weren't mine. And I think you've got to be invited into the conversation in a way, like you're saying with the how do you say the word? Philanthropists. Like you're saying with those people, with the people with the cash, sometimes the invitation is the thing that's important. And I think I received the correct invitation at the right time. So that's what keeps me inspired.
I love that you just said that, because actually that's a job we all have, right? It's not just for funders. We have to be inviting more people to come into this in the way that's right for them. That's actually probably the most profound thing that we do to help new donors come in, to get over the many barriers that will help keep people on the outside, is pay attention to what's important to them and help them see how that connects to what this work is, in the way that maybe Maryam did for you, and I'm so glad she did.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah. Yay. No, it's wonderful. It's. We also have a lot of fun doing this. So I think that for me, I actually think the thing I've learned is the joy. Like the more joy you can have doing this work that is obviously hard and really affects people's lives and livelihoods and all of the terrible things. And I do think that this week, even though I've been doing this work for a long time, I don't know why, but I was in Hyde Park on Father's Day on Sunday, and I just had this moment where I thought, oh my God, we're not ready. Like, we're not ready. It's so hot in London. And I don't know why, because obviously we do it every day. But then I thought, it's okay. Even though I'm feeling a bit, I'm going to come talk to Jennifer tomorrow and we're going to feel much better. It's true. Thank you so much for this conversation. I think it's pretty incredible because I do think that the level at which you're seeing the movement happening, and one of the things you said that we kind of buried, but I do think is really important, is that more money is actually coming into this work than ever before, which is kind of incredible. So we're sorry that we haven't had you on until now. We will have you back though, because we'd like to know what's happening. So thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us this week. We really hope you enjoyed this episode.
If you did, please hit the follow button to make sure that you get next week's release. While you're at it, please leave a rating and a review.
Now, let's shout out to our fabulous team behind the pod.
Executive produced by Josie Colter.
Produced by Ben Beheshty.
Music also by Ben Beheshty.
Communications by Tara Cooper and Izzy Gladstone.
Curation by Deesha Chandra.
Hosted by Ben Hurst.
And Maryam Pasha.
And remember,
stay curious.